fine. We got a couple more questions here. It says, this is from Sam Smith. Help me understand why national media is higher on Joe Milton than the local Knoxville media. Seems like Joe was the talk of Nashville today. So you guys were there. What was your kind of vibe check of how people felt about Joe Milton? I for one was kind of surprised he was one of the representatives there for Tennessee, because I think there's a lot to prove there for him. But so I think Heupel kind of was pushing all his chips in, saying, hey, we need to put a united front up, show that this is our guy.
Yeah, I'll give you, this is always sort of the answer for anything that's a local versus national regional issue, right? Fans are, and I'm not, a lot of times people that are closer to the situation are more right, but it's like you see the flaws more readily when you are close. If you were further away from Joe Milton, you didn't watch every snap he played like people in Knoxville did a year ago, or the last 2 years, what you look up and you see is what he went 10 touchdowns and no picks a year ago. He's like Uncle Rico. He can throw a ball over the mountains if he likes. And you sort of see the things that are allowed. I stood from me to, this wall in front of me to Joe Milton for about 25 minutes today, being Thursday. He's an impressive guy. He's a huge guy. And, he's well-spoken. He went to Michigan, which is not probably the easiest of public schools to get in. He presents a good image. He's very confident. Someone asked him about having maybe the strongest arm in college football, and he began his answer with, there's no maybe about it, basically. I think if you were just looking at Joe Milton, I think someone asked a question, and I don't look at mock drafts usually this time of year, but apparently he's getting some first-round buzz, so that's out there too. I think it's like being married. You see the flaws in your spouse that other people don't see because you're with them all the time. And I think that's much like perception of players when you are really close to it as opposed to when you are further away. And the things with Joe Milton that were probably loudest were not the things that you see up close when you're watching him and putting him under a microscope, as happens in an SEC city. Is that fair, you guys think?
Listen, the media loves the long ball, and the man's got the long ball. And I think just the arm strength, you can see those highlights, and it's hard not to be wowed by it. I'm wowed by it every time I see him throw a ball. I mean, just, that far. None of us can do that. There's not many people we know probably in the world that can do that. And but it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? And he was asked that today, Chris, which we put the interview up with him. It's on our channel if you want to find it. He was asked, it's like, all right, the arm strength's there. Like, what else are you improving in? And where have you improved the most? And I thought he gave a pretty detailed answer. He's like, look, I feel like I've improved here. I've improved here. That's what's going to take if he's going to be, what maybe the national media, like Sam said, if he's going to be what they think he can be, he's got to improve in those areas. It can't just be, you can't. How many times is he going to have the opportunity to throw a 90-yard pass, right? I mean, you're not going to be in that position many times. So I thought he did give a pretty good answer on that. So if you want to kind of hear his insight, you can find it on the channel. So,
yeah, I don't know that we'll really, I don't know that we'll find out what Joe Milton's going to be until we get to the first, critical third down. I don't even know if it'll come in the Virginia game, because I think they'll absolutely stomp Virginia. And according to which, I'm going to go ahead and throw the little tease out here, our predictive model that we're working on for Southeastern 14, it generates not only what the spread should be, but also a predicted final score. That's coming up. Another reason to subscribe to the channel. But I just don't know. There's, the greatest predictor of future performance is past performance, right? And every time Joe Milton has been in a position to be a starter for a team, he has not finished the year as the starter for that team. The question is, can he change things and mentally be there? It's just like Carson Beck at Georgia. Same thing. Carson Beck has had multiple opportunities to be the starter over Stetson Bennett in the last couple of years. They tried to give him every opportunity possible to start, and he couldn't handle it mentally. Does he take that step in his fourth year in the program? And same thing with Joe Milton. Both are extremely talented, but how does it come through on the mental part? Because as Blake said, there's a whole lot more to playing the quarterback position. Was UT's season a fluke last year, or are they back? So is Tennessee back, or do you think last year was a little bit of a flash in the pan?
Buy.
Bueno?
I buy it. I think,
Oh,
I
you
mean,
buy
they won 10 games. They beat Clemson. They beat Alabama. And there was the South Carolina game. They were outclassed against Georgia. That was probably a little more lopsided than the score, but goodness, the rest of the body of work, they're recruiting at a high level. They've got a system. They've got NIL. I don't think that Tennessee is going to go back to, the dregs of the Butch Jones and the Derek Dooley days anytime soon. Could be wrong about that. It was just 1 year, but I mean, the year before they were 7-6, and I thought that was, sometimes there are 7-6s that aren't impressive, and I thought that was one that was.
Can I give you my answer after we see what Joe Milton looks like in Game 3 at Florida?
Yeah, but they've got a guy behind him too, potentially.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying, like, I think are they back? Yes, I think they're back. Like you said, if that's just the simple part of it, I don't think they're going to go 5-7, or I don't think that's going to be the case or anything. But are they going to be able to match last season? Remains to be seen. I think if you just look at it from that standpoint. But yes, I think they're back from a standpoint of, I don't expect Tennessee to all of a sudden drop down to the 5th or 6th team in the East or anything like that. So,
well, 2015, Butch Jones 9-4. 2016, Butch Jones 9-4. 2019, Jeremy Pruitt 8-5. I think you could see something very similar to that this year. So my question is that back? I mean, is 8-9 wins back for Tennessee? Because I don't know that you're going on the road to Tuscaloosa. I don't know that you're going to beat a Georgia team that is, by all accounts, the best team in the country coming in there. And then who knows what happens in a couple of these matchups. We know what Kentucky can be this year. We know that, we just know, we've just talked about Missouri. We talked about, is South Carolina better? There's all this kind of stuff. If they lose 3 games in the regular season, Chris, is that considered back?
Well, you make a fair point, and I guess I didn't realize. Well, I did. Butch Jones had a couple of really good teams. To be fair, I thought Butch Jones was going to be the guy that got them turned around. Now, it looks like a stupid take now, but I was a believer in a lot of what he was doing at the time, and then it fell apart. And sometimes that is a pressure cooker in Knoxville. It goes crazy there pretty quickly. There are just some places where it can go off the rails pretty quickly. Gainesville's one, Auburn's one. Really, that's the case at just about any SEC school, but you've seen it happen in those cities repeatedly. But one thing that sticks out to me when I watch Josh Heupel, guys, if I'm going to just go pick out who's the most normal guy of the 4 coaches we just talked about that have been the last 4 at Tennessee that you just would go have a drink with or go bowling with or whatever, I think that the guy that's in the head coaching chair there right now is that guy. He's also got an offensive scheme that is almost impossible to stop. And to me, that is why that's different. I could be wrong. They could be back there in a couple of years and it implodes again. But to me, this feels different than the other 2 did.
Yeah, maybe so. I could definitely see Josh Heupel playing, bowling. He looks like he could really bowl. He looks like bowling is his sport instead of being a former college, runner up for the Heisman. The body transformation is unreal. But when you go through here and you look at it, I think you got to ask yourself, what is the standard at Tennessee? Is the standard being what Tennessee was in the late 90s, early 2000s, or is the standard having a chance to win double-digit games?